Good evening, folks. This is BelGeode, and this is part 6 of our FlightSimExpo experience for 2019. One of the things with going to these FlightSimExpo conventions is the fact that I'm constantly getting dragged this way and that. There's just so much to see, and unfortunately, I don't always have time to take a look at it all. But for this particular video, I do want to show off two things that two of my compatriots dragged me over because I absolutely positively had to take a look at them. The two items are a game by the name of Roger Meatball by programmer Jon Coughlin and the Knobster by Sim Innovations, which is a piece of hardware that Froogle saw and he thought that I really needed to check this thing out. So for the first part of the video, we're going to be talking with Jon about Roger Meatball and what all it entails, and then from there we're going to go on to the portion with Froogle where he is going to introduce us to the Knobster. So this one will be a shorter video than most, and we're pretty much coming close to the end of this little series. We've got one more video after this that will be our roundtable wrap-up. So, Mr. Sérgio, you want to give me some kind of intro here?
Yeah, well, I was just browsing around and Jon had contacted me before because of a game he has called Cats Fly Helicopters. Yeah. yeah. It sounded weird, but I'm kind of hooked into it.
Right.
Yeah, so it's cool. I'll tell more about it later. And Jon also told me about a game he has called Roger Meatball, which is a game in which you actually have to land aircraft on an aircraft carrier. And what did I think about it? Well, I thought that this guy here, BelGeode, had to see it. I had to bring the guy, yeah, that's him. So I had to bring the guy to meet Jon and get to, try Roger Meatball. So there you go. Jon is going to explain
all right. Well, Jon, let me first take a quick look at what we're looking at here.
Absolutely. So this is right after somebody had landed and they're getting their grade on landing on the aircraft carrier.
Okay.
This is Roger Meatball. It is like a really streamlined, simple video game that's playable on a console controller, but is meant to be a serious flight simulation that you can play without needing a full joystick and throttle setup. So if you want to hit the PlayStation button, that'll restart the game. And the carrier is going to be on your left, so you're in like a downwind leg. And all of the controls right there are they're full analog controls, so when you yank the stick back on that, it's like yanking back a whole real joystick. So it's going to be pretty touchy. Now the throttle is L1 and R1, so if you tap it, you'll see that if you tap it, it'll go up and down by 10%. If you hold it, you can jam it to the stop, and when you let go, it'll drop back down. So if you need to add power right away. So you start out right now with your landing gear down and with your engine probably too low to stay, or your engine low enough to descend. So you might want to add a little bit of throttle at the beginning to keep going. But the flight instruments are all simulated, so they should be useful. The engine RPM is right here. If you get the engine RPM all the way up into the red, you're going to start to raise your engine temperature. If it's in the red for too long, it'll overheat and stop. You have a fuel monitor down here. This is your angle of attack indexer. This is your trim monitor. This is a stall warning. You have landing gear that are retractable and extendable, but right now, if you're just going to land on the carrier, you probably want to leave them down.
So you're pretty much trying to trap in something like a Waco?
Yeah, so this is the aircraft that is inspiring it is an F3F, which is predecessor to an F4F, and it was like an interwar plane, probably like the height of biplane fighter design. Pretty cool plane.
Absolutely.
But what I wanted to make a game about landing on an aircraft carrier, but the flight regime of like a jet is just like not super accessible, especially if I'm only giving you the fidelity of a video game controller.
Right.
So I figured the easier problem to solve was make a slower plane. Like this thing, relative to the aircraft carrier speed, is like 10 meters per second when you land. So you're really crawling if you're doing it right. So it's a lot easier to land. But it's got landing gear that's simulated with a suspension, and they'll break off if you land too hard. It has a tail hook that is going to grab a wire, and the wire is going to dynamically be pulling you back.
Oh wow!
With real physics. So
yeah, that's a lot of physics for that. So what was the idea behind the art direction that you've got here?
I'm not an artist, so
okay. That's fair enough.
I can do this in Blender, and that's about it. I can make primitive shapes.
Nice trap.
Yeah, dude, you did pretty well. I guess you
tail
busted your
gear.
tail gear, but That's pretty good for your first try.
But you got a 2-wire. 2 wires is decent.
Yeah, so I would like to put in a full replay system that'll like capture a GIF of your landing. Yeah. It's just I'm making this game. This game has no budget right now, so this is a game I'm making in my free time. This game has a budget. Cats Fly Helicopters does, but Roger Meatball is just trying to figure out how to slap it together. So
sweet.
Taking single snapshots and putting them as a slideshow is a lot easier than making a replay system. But eventually, it would be fun to just like auto export a GIF, because it's a pretty GIFable game at the moment. So yeah.
Now, do you have plans on doing like VR with this as well?
Yes. So VR, the game is made in Unity, and VR is pretty easy to set up in Unity. And once I have like an interest in a fan base, then it makes sense for me to put in VR and get that hooked up. But
that seems fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
I like the fact that you've got all the various cruisers and frigates and everything in there. It looks like what, a Ticonderoga class crew?
Oh, I have no idea. That's just I just made like an old style looking battleship, or these ones that are following the carrier.
Yeah.
So the carrier is modeled after the USS Forstall.
Okay.
But these ships were just, I needed some sort of a ship to put in the water so that players would have like a reference point.
That makes sense.
Because otherwise you're just endlessly flying. Like if my idea is that I want to drop you in and put you on like a 5-minute game loop trying to land on an aircraft carrier, it makes sense that I would want to like give people like some level of accessibility.
I really thought I had seen it all when Jon showed me everything that he had up the front, but he then took me behind the desk to show me this actual plat cam that he's got going on that a second person can actually operate as LSO. So naturally, I did.
Once I figured out the best system for like saving a video or making a dynamic replay or something, then it should be trivial to add in different cameras and filters and effects and stuff and give
That's
you.
Awesome.
I would love a bridge camera. It would be nice to add in just a free camera or something. But yeah, a replay system for a landing that is chaotic and is often going to have people busting up the airplane seems like the best way to get people excited about that moment of tension. So yeah, I agree with you fully.
Yeah, it's definitely not an easy thing to do. I mean, I'm glad for the fact that it's at least in a biplane, so you know.
Oh, did you? Okay, we saw it blow up right here. I was like, oh no, did he?
You didn't even get to the 3/4 mile. Wow.
So if
that
you
is
hit the
awesome.
PlayStation button in the center, the game right now, it doesn't run indefinitely very well. So every once in a while, you have to hit the center PlayStation button and it just reloads the whole thing. So.
So it's called Roger Meatball, and you say that there's going to be early access available. Yeah. So today, if anyone here wanted to pick that up, they could?
Yep. People can pick it up here from me today. They can go to rogermeatball.com and you'll find where I've posted demo builds of the game. I will upload this demo build of the game sometime later this weekend when I get some free time. But yeah, it's in active development, and I've been building it very much in isolation. So I need feedback to figure out what the full scope of a video game like this needs to look like, or how I could turn it into a product that would actually entice people to buy a bigger version of this game. So yeah, this was me sort of getting my feet wet and building a flight simulation architecture. But now that I have that flight sim architecture, making new planes, making new environments, making new mission types is a lot easier than starting from scratch. So
that makes sense.
I'm hoping that this convinces people that a flight simulation that bridges the gap between full arcade flight and DCS is a valuable thing. And if people feel that way, then we can...
I think that we need stuff like this just to kind of bring more people in, because not everybody's ready to try a Tomcat trap on the freaking
Nimitz.
Everybody
owns a joystick.
Yeah, exactly.
Or when they're ready
is cool.
To start a flight game, they won't own a joystick yet, right?
Right.
So, yeah,
that is awesome.
That's the hope.
I'm really liking this.
Cool,
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about it.
I appreciate it. It's great.
Here we've got call sign Crash there. He's going to be coming in, so we'll see how well this is going to go. I was like, where are you? Are you even downwind?
Yeah,
All right.
you start
That'll
with
do it
low
for
engine
now.
power, so you kind of almost have to throttle up.
And the second item that I want to show you in this little video here is the Knobster. And this one was brought to my attention by Froogle, so I figured that it's probably something that's going to be taking off really soon if Fruogle's putting his stamp of approval on it. What you're looking at is the Sim Innovations webpage where you can purchase this thing. It's not available yet. Presumably it will be available around the end of August 2019. So if you're watching this video after that time, and you're interested in something like this, listen to what Froogle has to say about it and then decide if it's something that's going to meet your needs.
Okay, hold on. Back up a second. Give me like a little bit of an intro as to what's going on here.
Okay, this is Russ Barlow's Knobster. This is Air Manager. What Air Manager does, it runs on a touchscreen PC or your current PC. You can use it with a mouse as well. If you have a second PC, then that's ideal, but you don't need to. And then what it does is this gives you can bring up designs here with different layouts with different aircraft. You just touch the control you want to interact with, and then the Knobster lets you interact with it like you would on a real aircraft. So rather than the old way where Cytec, for example, would ship out these wide radio panels that you had to put on your desk, this is one tiny little knob that you can attach to your yoke or your joystick or your desk, and it does absolutely everything. It's brilliant. You can even control the magneto switch over here. Oh, it's not going to work now, but it was earlier. You can control the magneto switch, you can control the radios, it's pushable, so you can switch between navigation or comm up here. You just touch the control and then start interacting with it. It's absolutely fantastic.
And it has the inner knob and outer knob, so...
Right. They had a previous version which is already out. This is the new one which comes out in September. They're currently working on it, but in September this will be available. It's not cheap. It's 65 here and 95 here. Is that right? Yeah. So it's not cheap, but it is really, really freaking useful. You know, you can load this up as a 737 and start interacting with a 737 MCP and stuff like that, or as a Cessna, or as whatever you're flying, and it just works. In addition to that, there is a tablet version which doesn't work with the Knobster, but again, you're interacting with the controls just the way you would expect. And it's all very touch-friendly and it works the way you would expect. These things are awesome. So this is air data on a tablet, this is air data full on a PC with the Knobster, not the knob. Don't ask them to show you their knob. This is the Knobster.
The Knobster, the name of the
There you
company.
go.
Yeah.
Sim Innovations.
Sim Innovations. And this comes out in September.
This is called Air Manager.
Air Manager.
You can create your own layouts, or you can use pre-made layouts for all different airplanes. We have the 737 overhead over there that's fully functional on the wall and a touch screen. So,
What about
And it works with all flight sims.
yeah, it works with P3D. It works with FSX, also Aeroflight.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Also. And of course, X-Plane.
That is awesome. That's Sim Innovations. So there you go, Sim Innovations, Air Manager. Amazing stuff.
So there you go, folks. Two rather unassuming products that really nobody expected to see at FlightSimExpo, but they actually turned out to be quite the talk of the town for that entire weekend. Alright, so one more video left to go. As promised, the now traditional roundtable wrap-up. That's going to be coming next, so stay tuned.